While sitting here today, it may have occurred to you that it has been a week since we had our last Sunday service. An obvious fact. And during that week, many events have occurred. Some which we may know of, some which we may not know of, some which we may have personally experienced, and some which we may have saw on the sidelines. And during this week, you may have asked God, why has this happened to me? Or to that person. You may have thought and told God that that man, that woman, is a godly person, but now they are suffering. It may be that you thought about that about yourself, asking God, why are these temptations in my life? Why do I have to work with that one particular co-worker? He does nothing but bring trouble, or even tries to find ways to discourage me. In other words, we face sin and evil of various kind every week and every day. And today, I'll be talking about something that should be a great source of comfort in the midst of both good and blessed times, but especially in the times where it may be hard for us, and we simply want to drop our hands and say, I give up. What I'm going to be talking about is known as God's will. His power, His decree, His plan, or in other words, His sovereignty. And we'll be referring to and reading from several texts of Scripture today. So be ready to flip around or even on your phone to scroll around. And these Scriptures will help us understand who God is, what He is like, and what is He doing with His creation. And the first few passages will be coming from the book of Genesis, then from Job, and then finally from the book of Acts. In the last chapter of Genesis, we are faced with a situation. Joseph and his brothers have just buried their father and are now returning back to Egypt. But the brothers are afraid that Joseph might retaliate for what they have done to him in the past. In Genesis 50, verses 15 to 21, chapter 50, verses 15 to 21, it reads, When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, What if Joseph bears a grudge against us, and pays us back in full for all the wrong which we did to him? So they sent a message to Joseph, saying, Your father charged before he died, and saying, Thus you shall say to Joseph, Please forgive, I beg you, the transgressions of your brothers and their sin, for they did you wrong. And now, please forgive the transgressions of the servants of God, your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Then his brothers also came and fell down before him and said, Behold, we are your servants. But Joseph said to them, Do not be afraid, for am I in God's place? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring this present result, to preserve many people alive. So therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Joseph's brothers were afraid, and rightfully so. It may have been, like I just mentioned, Joseph was simply being nice to them for their father's sake, and he was planning to do for heavy revenge after Jacob died. But what do we see here? Joseph cries and tells them what he has told them before in the past. For example, in Genesis 45. Starting from verse 19, we see how Joseph starts from stating the obvious and a much needed fact, that his brothers do not need to be afraid. Why? Because Joseph is not in God's place. In other words, he comforts his brothers first by telling them that he is not in the judgment seat, but God is. Joseph humbled himself before his brothers and showed them that he is no God, but just a man, and the power to judge belongs to God. And just a side note, that we all should be thankful that there is no one else but God who sits on the throne. But starting from verse 20, Joseph changes focus from himself to his brothers and to God. He first tells them as for you, you meant evil against me. And notice how Joseph does not excuse what his brothers did. He tells them that what they did was evil by hating Joseph, wanting to kill him, selling him to slavery, lying to their father, and so much more. But then he tells them God meant it for good. And let's pause here for a second and think about what is going on here. The act of killing, of hating and selling your brother, that is an absolute wicked act. Would everyone agree? God even commands the future Israelites to kill that person who tries to kidnap and sell one of their own brothers, one of their own people, in Deuteronomy 24:7. God takes this sin, this evil, very seriously. Why do I bring this up? Because when you interact with this world, either sharing the gospel or just living your life as a Christian, one question will come up, and that is the question, why is there evil in this world? Now, the question may not come up in that exact form, but it will be related, but those questions will be related to that. If God created this universe, and if He said at the end of His creation that it was all good, then how come people right now are murdering each other, there are wars, stealing, hating, divorcing, drunkenness, disease, pollution, and so much more evil in this world? The Christian has two responses. Either God is the author of evil, of sin, or He isn't. Yes, either He did make evil or He did not. Some of you may be thinking, Denny, how dare you say that? And that's exactly my point. That the believer recognizes that God cannot be the creator of evil. And that's why we must answer not only that question, but also another question. Why does evil still exist? These are very difficult questions, and there is no easy or simple answer. Now, obviously, with the short time that I have today, I cannot go into the details or the arguments against and for Christianity that's used. But I want to briefly describe the basic mindset that we must have that will help us answer these questions. What the Bible reveals to us is that God is not the author of sin, for it would be contrary to His nature. It is the demons and all of humankind who are responsible for it. When Adam ate the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, he did so willingly. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but when I think about this is very, frightening and even scary. Why? Because Adam knew who God was. Saw Him create animals. But even then, he decided to rebel against God. And his rebellion, representing for all of humankind, we all fall into sin. We are all partakers of that sin. This is what is known as original sin. This is why every person sins. Not simply because we observe other people doing it, but because we inherit that same nature that Adam had. We are naturally inclined towards sin. We are born as sinners. That is why Paul, in his first several chapters in the book of Romans, tries to establish this fact that there is no one good, that we're all sinners damned to hell. So if evil comes from what we have done, why does evil still exist then? Why doesn't God just wipe everything out right away? When God created this universe, He did not simply create this universe not knowing what the future would be like, which is what a very popular theology called open theism teaches, that God does not know the future, which is a heresy. God of the Bible is not a God of chaos, but He is God of order and of planning. When He created this universe, He made it with intention and with a decree. And the ultimate end of that decree is the glory of God, which will be shown by the salvation of those who are saved and the judgment of those who hate God in their rebellion and love of sin. So we have established this fact. So let's move on to the next part then. God is not the author of sin, but that does not mean he cannot use the evil of man for his own goals. What do I mean by that? Well, when Joseph said to his brothers that his brothers meant evil against him, but God meant it for good. The word that's used here in phraseology of the word in Hebrew, the word meant, refers to making a plan. Like for example, when you have money, and you write down, and before you use it, you write down a plan, a business plan, what you're going to do with that money. And that's what that Hebrew word refers to. When Joseph's brothers planned to do evil against him, God, in his divine plan, used the very same wicked actions of the brothers to bring Joseph to Egypt so that people may be saved from the starvation from the coming famine. And we see many more examples in the Bible of this. In Job, for example, in the first chapter, verses 6 to 12, chapter 1, verses 6 to 12, it reads, Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, From where do you come? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From roaming about on the earth and walking all around. The Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job? For there is no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man, fearing God and turning away from evil. Then Satan answered the Lord, saying, Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge about him, his house, and all he has on every side? Have you blessed the work? You have blessed the work of his hands, and possessions have increased in the land. But put forth your hand now, and touch all he has, he will surely curse you to your face. But the Lord said to Satan, Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not put forth your hand on him. So Satan departed from the presence of the Lord. And what we see then for the rest of the chapter, the next 2 chapters, is that that Satan destroys Job's life by taking all that he has, his family, his property, his servants, and giving him a horrible disease from the top to his head to the bottom of his feet. But what do we see Job do? In the same chapter, in verses 20 to 22, we see that Job does something a little bit strange. It says, Then Job arose, tore his robe, shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there. The Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And through all this, he did not sin, nor did he blame God. And notice what the text says. Job contributed all of this to God. And the text shows that he did not sin by saying this. Does this make Satan, the Sabians, the Chaldeans who did all these wicked acts free from their sin because God allowed them to do this? No. They are still responsible for the wicked acts they have done, and God will judge them for it. We see how God can use other people, other agents, even when their intention is evil, to fulfill His own holy decree. And there are many other examples of this in the Bible, especially if you look in the Old Testament. But I want to focus on one more example, and I will consider the most greatest example, and that is the cross of Jesus Christ. If you look in the book of Acts, chapter 4, verses 24 to 28, book of Acts, chapter 4, verses 24 to 28, it reads, And they heard this, and they lifted their voice to God with one accord and said, O Lord, it is you who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, who, by the Holy Spirit, through the mouth of our father David, his servant, said, Why did the Gentiles rage, and the people devise futile things? The kings of the earth took their stand, the rulers were gathered together against the Lord, against His Christ. For truly in this city there were gathered together against your holy servant Jesus, who you anointed, both Herod, Pontius Pilate, along the Gentiles and the people of Israel, to do what of your hand, your purpose predestined to occur. This is one of the most earliest prayers recorded by the early church. And what is it that they declare? They give praise to God, they quote the second Psalm, which is all about how this world rebels against God, and God judges them for that, and that He anoints His Christ over them. Then from there, we see in verse 27 something interesting. I'll read it again, verse 27. It reads, "For truly in this city there were gathered together against your holy servant Jesus, whom you anointed, both Herod, Pontius Pilate, along the Gentiles and the people of Israel, to do whatever your hand and your purpose predestined to occur." I like it how one particular preacher described this verse. Each of these persons had different motivations. Herod was known to be a vile man, killed John the Baptist, married someone who he shouldn't have, and many other wicked things. Pilate was afraid of the Jews and did not want to riot, so he gave Christ, an innocent man, to the cross. The Gentiles did what they do best, and that is killing people by putting them on the cross. And the Jews hated Jesus. Yet, despite of all these wicked, different motivations, God used these people to bring forth the great gift of salvation. And not only that, but He planned this before the creation of this world, as verse 28 and many other scriptures in the New Testament shows, from Ephesians, Romans, and many other places. You may ask, so how is this comforting me? How is this comforting? How is this going to help me to deal with my temptations, with that coworker, or any understanding what's going on in this world? If there's anything that you can get from this sermon, it is this: that God is not a God let me repeat this again, sorry. Our God is not the God who does not have anything planned, not knowing what the future will be like. But the God of the Bible is the God who, before the creation, decreed a plan that will unfold as time passes by. He is in control. When Adam fell into sin, God came, even though He judged him for doing so, He, along with that, promised salvation through His seed, the future seed. And when Israel rebelled against God, He showed judgment, but along with that, showed mercy. For the Messiah was to come from that nation. God used the wicked hearts of the people in Jerusalem who did the most wicked act of all history, killing the Messiah. And God used this action to bring forth the death and resurrection of that Messiah, to finally fulfill the promise that was given so long ago, to take the sins of those who believe and to give them righteousness. But what about now? The world seems to be getting stranger and stranger the more you read the news, when you see what's going on in television, and so much more. So much killings, especially all the terrorist attacks in Europe, or all the strange things going on here in America. You may ask, where is God? But as Christians, we must remember that even though we do not know all that God has planned, even though we do not understand why we are living in the situation we're in, God is in control. He is sovereign. He knows what He is doing, and that He will fulfill what He has promised, and especially the greatest promise of all, the promise of salvation. And this should be a great source for comfort for us, that God is in control. And I've mentioned this many times in the past in my other studies, but this should be a great source of comfort. If God promised something, He will fulfill it. And we can all stand up.